Hey everypony, it's me, Lucid Brony. Now, I just I just thought that maybe my first video would be me explaining how I became a Brony. Now, I know I've been saying I'm going to do Lucid Logs soon, but I've just been kind of busy lately. Although apparently not busy enough to not get this done, but that's beside the point. So, anyway, I just really do want to say thank you to everyone on Twitter who has supported me thus far. It really does mean a lot to me. So, without further ado, let's get this started, and let's hope that my squeaky chair doesn't get into the microphone again. Alright, now then. I owe it all to that flying tire. I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for that random event. Everyone is hit by a flying tire at one point or another, but for me it was a bit more literal. I don't quite remember the date, but I'd be willing to bet it was mid-July. My friends and I were playing Minecraft at the time. My friend Zach, who lives in Pennsylvania, just decided to play a little game of trust. All of us would say one thing that we would not trust most people with. Nobody agreed, but Zach apparently decided that this game could be played with just one person. With much hesitation, he explained to us that he watched and enjoyed My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, a show in which 6 ponies try to quite literally find the magic of friendship. Soon, a lot of the conversation online was about My Little Pony, making me more than a little confused. Not long after this, our friend Scott announced that he too had begun watching the show. On top of that, Zach's friend Chad was also a Brony. In fact, he was the one who had turned Zach into a Brony in the first place. The situation was quickly getting out of hand as more and more people within our nice little group of people began enjoying the show. One night, while just lying there, trying to go to bed, I got to thinking on how everyone was watching My Little Pony. Needless to say, I was more than curious. I remember that the next 2 hours were spent debating whether I should watch it or not. I would throw arguments both for and against it, very rarely getting closer to an actual decision. Finally, I just decided to say screw it and watch the show. Using my phone, I pulled up the first episode on YouTube. I remember it was much better than I had expected it to be. More excited than curious at this point, I pulled up the second. I then watched the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. This process continued for several hours. I eventually realized it was 3 a.m. and decided it could wait until tomorrow. The next morning, after nearly an hour of waiting for my mom to leave, I logged onto Skype and told Zach I enjoyed My Little Pony. Later that day, I logged into Ventrilo, which is the chat service that I use to talk with all my friends. I was welcomed to the herd by the rest of the group. For the next 10 days, I disappeared from the face of the planet while I watched the remainder of the series, about 40 more episodes. After watching both seasons, I was very disappointed to find out that Season 3 would not be for another 3 months. Shortly after watching the entire series, my friend Scott turns me toward fanfiction, specifically grimdark fanfictions, which, if you don't know, grimdark is a subgenre, I guess, of fanfictions which generally are extremely dark and sometimes gory. Among these is Cupcakes, a disturbing fanfiction that has been banned from many websites due to its excessive amounts of gore. After reading Cupcakes, I discovered many more grimdark fanfictions, such as Rainbow Factory and Rocket to Insanity, which I actually greatly enjoyed. Not long after Zach announced that he was writing his own fanfiction, which is now over 10 chapters long, and centers around his original character, Crimson Rain. After hearing about Zach's fanfiction, I began the creation of mine. The story revolves around Beauregard. Yeah, I know the name doesn't fit at all, but oh well. I've decided against changing it. Well, I haven't quite entirely decided against it. I'm figuring something out, but for now, it's indefinitely remaining as Beauregard. It just centers around him and his attempts to discover who he truly is and what he's destined to do. Yes, it's another Finding Your Cutie Mark fan fictions, another one. But I don't know. After I began writing my fan fiction, I kind of ran out of ideas. I decided to find some more fan fiction to draw inspiration from. Over the next several days, I read fan fiction after fan fiction on femfiction.net, gaining new ideas from each and every one. Pretty soon, however, I was just reading to read. Soon I was reading a fan fiction every chance I could. Zach, who had been reading many fan fictions as well, directed me towards a very popular fan fiction called My Little Dashie. I read the fan fiction, and although I found it sad, I didn't really cry, even though it has made many tougher men than I burst into tears within sentences. I kid you not. I have seen proof of this. No, really, I have. Not long after reading My Little Dashie, Scott showed me the song Discord by The Living Tombstone, which I'm sure almost all of you have seen. I remember that I didn't really like the song at the time. I couldn't even understand what the guy was saying half the time. Later, Scott also showed me a website called Everfree Radio. Everfree Radio plays only Brony music in a similar fashion to a radio station. They even do requests at times. This is actually where I originally found Brony music. A few days later, I went on to YouTube to actually find some of the bigger artists I'd listened to. Among these were The Living Tombstone, Sound of the Aviators, and Wind Toaster, or Blaze, depending on which one you prefer to call him. I found that almost all their music was free. For a while, however, I was too afraid to download much of it, because it sounded like it was based on the show. I was able to find some Brony songs that sound like they could be about anything, but they were few and far between. At this point, I had been a Brony for about a month and a half, and I was heavily considering telling some of my friends at school. After several hours of hard thinking, similar to the way I debated watching the show in the first place, I finally settled on letting a select few of my friends know of my love for the show. All those I told took it much better than I had expected. I had expected everything from laughs to teasing, but no. Most people just shrugged and said okay. Some just were surprised, but some even said they too watched it. After telling a few of my friends, I went back onto YouTube and found more musicians. One of the artists I found, Matthew Moser, if that's how you say his name, unfortunately joined the army almost immediately after I discovered him. Now that I was more open about my liking of the show, I even downloaded a few that referenced characters and places from the show. At this point, I was finding more Brony songs than I even thought might exist in the first place. After listening to the music with a more open mind, I found my love for music return, something I hadn't had for years. With a plethora of fan fictions and music to draw inspiration from, I returned to writing. I, regardless of the inspiration, soon was struck by writer's block. I decided I would write something else and return to my original fan fiction at a later date. Soon, I began the creation of several more fan fictions and even a few more original characters. Soon, however, I came to realize that I'd hardly be able to show any of my writings to anyone as a closet Brony. I had been a Brony for a month and a half at this point, and I decided that I did not care what anyone thought of me. With little hesitation, I told everyone at my school that I watched My Little Pony. I was met with a mixture of laughs, strange looks, and shrugs of the shoulder. I did not, however, tell my parents. Now, though, I was free to listen, write, and watch whatever I pleased. My song count quickly skyrocketed to over 100 original songs. I also began writing even more fan fictions as a result. faster than I, or anyone else for that matter, could believe, I reached more than 150 songs. I also found Brony fan art and quickly gathered almost 100 pictures. At this point, my friend Zeke was becoming very curious of the show. It was only after he asked me about the show did I realize he had not yet watched it like he said he had. That weekend, while I was spending the night at his house, I decided to pull up the show on my phone and show him myself. Thankfully, Zeke liked the show almost immediately. A few days later, when I arrived for school, my friend Curtis told me that he had begun watching My Little Pony. This took me by surprise. I did not honestly expect to get anyone to watch it. I didn't even tell him, which really surprised me, even though that was kind of how I became a Brony myself. No one really told me to go and watch it. But seeing his positive reaction, I decided to tell several people at school to at least check out the series. This actually resulted in the creation of several other Bronies. After nearly a month of writing and rewriting, I finally had finished chapter 1 of my fanfiction. Unfortunately, at roughly the same time, my editor's computer broke. With his computer broken, my fanfiction quickly ground to a halt. Although the creation of my fanfiction stopped, I still planned out the entirety of it for when I returned. After being a Brony for a full 2 months, I decided to tell my parents about my love for the show. I told my mom first. She thought that Bronies would not last and the whole thing was silly. But she doesn't know about the 4chan wars. And that's a whole nother video entirely. My father, however, barely reacted at all. Although he does still occasionally poke fun at me for it. My dad, even although did choose to sit down and watch an episode with me while looking at his phone. But hey, it's a start. Yeah, and I really appreciated that. Just sitting down and watching it with my dad, that was fun. After talking to my English teacher, he agreed to allow me to read Milo Dashi to the class. Some kids were drawn into the story, while others were bored out of their mind. Shortly after reading Milo Dashi to my entire class, I found a beautiful song called It's Great to Be Different by Forest Rain. I'd always been uncomfortable about myself because of my Asperger's, which, in case you didn't know, hi, I have Asperger's. I'd often wondered if life would be, how different life would be, or if it would be better without my disability. But after hearing this song, I was inspired and began to truly believe that it was great to be different. At this point, I had over 500 pictures of Brony fan art and nearly 300 Brony songs. After listening to Great to Be Different a few more times, I found my self-confidence and self-image skyrocket. It was then that I started caring less and less what people thought about me. With a new point of view, I saw that the desire for perfection was the desire to destroy all that makes a person a person. I was finally able to accept myself, flaws, and strengths alike. If you ever hear me say this, know I mean it with every fiber of my being. Dare to be different. Dare to be special. Dare to be unique. Dare to be you. I cannot stress that enough. With the full acceptance of myself, I was finally confident enough to go to Hot Topic and buy a Brony wristband, which I now wear every single day. Not long after buying the wristband, I received an early Christmas present, a Brony t-shirt, which read, "Luna is best princess," a message that still holds true today. I wore this shirt to school the following day. It was amazing. Now, however, I commonly wear that shirt and even a few others. I have a grand total of 3 Brony shirts now. But I do this a lot of times when I go out into the community. Although I have yet to meet another Brony out in public, I never give up looking. Becoming a Brony has not just given me something to waste my time on, or something to do, or even more friends. No. He's changed my life. Yes, My Little Pony changed my life. Come at me, bro. Without My Little Pony, I would not have discovered my long-lost love for music. I wouldn't even have continued writing, something that I absolutely loved doing when I was younger. I may not have ever even accepted in myself for who I am, flaws and all. You know, people sometimes tell me I'm obsessed. So what if I am? My obsession changed my life for the better. Remember, everyone, whether you be a friend, enemy, or just some neutral observer, you should rejoice in being different. Well, there you have it. The story of how I became a brony. Now, yeah, like I said though, about lucid logs, pretty much lucid logs will be lucid logs will just be me summarizing lucid dreams that I have. So far I've only had a grand total of 2 lucid dreams, both layer 1s. And if you don't know what layer 1s are, I will link a video down in the description. You should be able to find the series. Just message me on Twitter, or if you can't, and I'll just send you the rest of them. It's really no big deal, but oh well. But yes, I will start lucid logs. I'll record it immediately after uploading this video, but it will most likely take at least a few days. Actually, it should just take a day to edit. And yeah, so I'll just upload that whenever I finish editing it, but I will most likely record it after I, get done uploading this video. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed not lucid slot. This is how I became a brony, and I really do hope you enjoyed this, though. So, remember, dare to be you.